Okay, it is time to go to D.C. This is Bruce Allen, general manager of the Washington Redskins, speaking live after the firing of Jay Gruden.
Was disappointed in not being able to achieve what we all wanted to achieve, and it was a brief conversation. After that, we had a coaches meeting, and we're fortunate to have a seasoned veteran like Bill Callahan on our staff, and we named Bill our interim head coach, and had an entire coaching staff meeting, and Bill has been grinding through meetings the rest of the morning. To make a decision like this is difficult, but it was necessary. Our 0-5 start is not just disappointing. We had much different expectations for this beginning of the season. We owe it to our fans, our millions of fans, not just here in the great nation's capital, but across the world, the organization, the players, the coaches, and their families to do everything we can to win. And under Bill's leadership and the programs he's going to put in, and the discipline and execution, we believe we're giving it the best opportunity to beat the Miami Dolphins and for the rest of the year. With that, I'll take some questions.
Bruce, obviously you know what Jay Gruden's record is. Understand the record isn't as good either. I mean, your tenure here not as good either. Why should people have confidence that you guys are going to finally put together a product that they want to see on it?
You know, John, that's a fair question. And right now we're all 0-5. And I don't believe anybody is hiding from their record. And our goal is to obviously change that and beat the Dolphins. When you're around this building enough, you can feel the passion of these players. You can feel the ability of these players. And you can see the coaches working their tails off to try and come up with a winning game plan. That's all we can do right now is work toward the Dolphin game and the season and to keep developing these players.
Bruce, moving forward, what's the plan at quarterback? Have you talked to Bill about that? Is it expected does he have free reign to pick whoever he wants to go with, or have you talked about time to develop Dwayne Haskins for the rest of the season?
Well, Kareem, yes, it'll be up to Coach Callahan who plays at any position, the same way it was up to Coach Gruden on who's going to play. We're thrilled to have Dwayne here. We think his future is very bright, and whatever gives Coach Callahan the formula for success, I'm sure he's going to do. But you'll be able to ask him that later today.
JP, then Les.
JP Finley, NBC Sports, Washington. Bruce, throughout your time with the Skins, there hasn't been much success, and you've held various roles, GM, VP, team president, all of that. What's your level of accountability for that lack of success?
Well, once again, fair question, JP. That we're all involved in this. I don't ever want to hide from our record. I don't want to hide from
Just lost the connection there with Bruce Allen, the general manager of the Washington Redskins, but didn't say anything surprising. Firing Jay Gruden this morning, 5 a.m. reportedly, after an 0-5 start. Gruden made the playoffs just one season, never won a playoff game. That best season was his second season with the Redskins, 9-7 overall. Pete Prisco is here, and an interesting day for the Washington Redskins. Not only firing Jay Gruden, but you have the general manager actually taking questions from the media for the first time in 2.5 years. You heard Allen speak, the general manager. What did you make of that?
He was covered in Teflon when he was taking that interview. Everything goes right off his back. I mean, he gets there's no accountability there. He's the one constant for years and years of this organization being what it is, which is a bad football team. He has to be accountable. I like Bruce Allen, but he has to be more accountable. This was a decision made based on what's happening with the quarterback. Jay Gruden and the personnel people did not want Dwayne Haskins. Dan Snyder, Bruce Allen did. You know who they wanted? I heard they wanted Daniel Jones, and that was their guy. And they made him take Dwayne Haskins. He didn't play him. Clearly, this is something that Daniel Snyder wants going forward along with Bruce Allen. I think you'll see Dwayne Haskins sooner rather than...
If they wanted Daniel Jones, though, they would have had to trade way up. I mean, they were at 15 with Dwayne Haskins, and Jones was obviously gone by then. How about the timing of this? We knew, as this season started, that he wasn't going to see 2020. Jay Gruden wasn't going to see next season. But how about after just 5 weeks?
Yeah, again, this goes back to the infighting over the quarterback situation. Case Keenum was his guy to start. He got hurt. He went to Colt McCoy. I mean, Haskins needs to start. You have to find out what you have. And if you're the owner of the football team, I get it. I understand it. What the owner of the football team might not know, maybe he's not ready. He doesn't see it on the practice field every day. And so I think there's a little infighting there, and it was just never going to work. I don't mind in-season firings if you're going to change something. That means put the quarterback in if indeed that's the reason you fired Jay Gruden.
You fire him now because there's a good chance they get their first win of the season next week against the Miami Dolphins. We'll talk more about that in just a second. How about the naming of the interim head coach, Bill Callahan? And this is kind of coincidental because he took over for John Gruden in Oakland when John Gruden left to become the manager or the coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and win a Super Bowl. Now he's taking over for his brother Jay.
Yeah, and this is one of those things where you look at Bill Callahan and you say, what's he going to do? Well, he's an offensive line coach, so he's going to want to run the ball. And they're going to run the ball more, and he's already come out and said that or hinted at that, to take the pressure off the young quarterback. So for me, I understand why he's going to Bill Callahan. Veteran guy, he's in the building. Players know him. He's familiar with him.
Okay, let's go back out to the Washington, D.C. area and once again listen to Bruce Allen, the general manager of the Redskins, speaking to the media right now.
Execute better on game day.
Bruce, Ben Stanek with The Athletic. Go back to Dwayne Haskins. There's been plenty of reports and conversation about whether the front office and Jay were on the same page with regards to drafting Dwayne at 15. What can you say to that, if everybody was on the same page? And then also, what were your thoughts on the development of Dwayne this year up to yesterday?
When you take a first-round player, it gets a lot of publicity. The seventh rounders don't get much publicity. All the coaches are involved in our draft meetings. When we're setting the draft board, the coaches are involved and they sign off on everything. As far as Dwayne, we're excited as hell to have him on this football team. And we think he has a great future ahead of him. He's working very hard. He's learning the system. And when Coach Callahan decides to put him in, he'll make that decision. But Jay was excited about Dwayne Haskins, and I think he probably talked to several of you from OTAs and in training camp about how well he was doing.
Tom Fitzgerald from Fox 5. I don't know if this is a football question, but this is more of a state of the state question. Yesterday, your stadium was pretty much taken over by Patriot fans. The players heard it. The opposing players heard it. The opposing head coach mentioned it yesterday. Where we're at right now, can you apologize to the Washington Redskins fans who have been so loyal for so long? And what are you going to do starting today in your capacity to make things better?
Well, I appreciate, Tom, I appreciate the fact that the Patriots have a great fan base. And they've had tremendous success, and Bill Belichick's probably the best coach in NFL history. So I'm sure many of our fans put their tickets on the second market and made some money on it, selling it to people from the Northeast. All we can do is try to improve our product. These games we weren't close in. We've lost 5 games, and we didn't lose them in the last second. We lost these games decisively, and we have to change that. And our fans deserve that, and this market deserves this. We're in the nation's capital, and it deserves better than that, and we have to get it done.
Bruce, Chip Rear, ABC 7 in D.C. Right now it's Bill Callahan. The focus is the Miami Dolphins. But as you go through this season, how will you evaluate the coaching search for next season and the future? and how important that is for you to get this right with the pressure of the fan base surrounding this organization?
You know, Chip, it's a question that maybe we'll have to talk about in November, December, and how we're doing. Right now, everybody's working on their jobs. We'll have plenty of opportunity to explore what's out there in the coaching world after the season. There are league rules that determine what you can and can't do in coaching searches, which we'll obviously follow.
Matt Paris from the Washington Times. Bruce, obviously Trent Williams isn't here. Just where do things stand with him, and have you considered trading him at all since you guys are 0-5?
He is not here. You are very correct on that, Matt. And really, there's been no dialogue with any other team.
Would you consider trading him? Just as a follow-up, would you consider trading him?
No, not at this time.
Bruce, there's a lot of talk about the culture surrounding this football team, and obviously with a decade, 2 decades without much playoff success, without much on-field success, how would you describe the culture surrounding this football team?
You know, the culture is actually damn good. These people care. We have a very young core of players that we have brought in here who are accustomed to winning. If you look at the record of these guys, they're accustomed to winning. They want to win. In free agency, we brought Landon Collins. A great leader, great player, wants to win. We haven't put it together. We've made too many mistakes on game day. But the effort of the players and the rest of this organization is fantastic. Doug Williams, his hours, if you want to check his time card, working all the time. Our scouts on the road, working all the time. And they're trying to find the right formula for success. These players have the ability, and we just have to execute it.
How does that culture translate then to winning football?
Through winning football games. We have to win. We didn't win any of these games.
That last one, David Aldridge, finish us off.
David Aldridge with The Athletic. To kind of piggyback on JP's question, over the last decade, you have tried several different models in terms of culture building, whether it was bringing Joe Gibbs back, going to a strong GM with Scott McLuhan, bringing in a young assistant like Jay Gruden. Nothing has worked. So why is it so hard to set a proper culture that leads to winning football for you?
You know, I don't necessarily agree with the premise that it's never. You know, last year at this time, we're in first place and we're doing well. So it was working pretty damn good. And unfortunately, our quarterback got injured. The pieces are here for a winning team. We have to put them in the right place, believe in each other, and keep fighting for a goal. There's only one way you win. You have to work, and you have to get better, and you have to beat your opponent. And that's what we have to do. And I believe these players and these coaches will do that.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
First time in 2.5 years that Bruce Allen, the general manager of the Washington Redskins, actually takes questions from the media. Says the culture is actually damn good. It's a real quote. Dwayne Haskins did not play yesterday. You got to think this coaching move will mean that Dwayne Haskins will play much, much more, maybe all the way through the rest of the season. We've got Pete Prisco here. Pete, he didn't play against the Patriots. A lot of us kind of saw that coming because they probably didn't want to put him out there against New England and get smoked. Do you think he starts every game the rest of the way if he stays healthy?
I think he should. You got to find out what he is. And you heard him say it's going to be Bill Callahan's decision. Yeah, sure it is. I mean, it's going to be Dan Snyder's decision. It's going to be Bruce Allen's decision, and they want to see him play. And I understand that. You draft him. If you really like him that much, and they did, they clearly did, then you have to play him. It's time. You're not, look, Colt McCoy, Case Keenums of the world, they're stopgaps. You have to find out if you have the long-term, sustainable quarterback on your roster, and that means playing Dwayne Haskins.
He was asked about when the search will begin for the next Redskins head coach, and he made it seem like they're not going to start looking until November or December. It has to be. I mean, maybe it's one of those things you have to say, tampering and all that stuff midway through the season. But the favorite right now is actually Byron Leftwich, who's the offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Would that be a good choice?
I put that out there today on Twitter. I said they should hire Byron Leftwich, and I'm a big believer in Byron. I've known him a long time. He's a smart kid. He puts all the hours in. He works at it. Bruce Arians vouches for him on a regular basis. Bruce Arians gave him play calling. That tells you what he thinks of Byron Leftwich. He's done a great job with Jameis Winston. He'd be perfect for Dwayne Haskins. And, oh, by the way, he's a D.C. kid. It would be great for him to go back and be the head coach. I think it would be an outstanding hire. I think Eric Bieniemy could be a good hire. And if you're going to go, you know, retread, because there's no way in hell. Take Josh McDaniels off that list. No way in hell he's taking that job. But if you're going to go retread, Mike McCarthy would make some sense as well. But I can't see Mike McCarthy and Dan Snyder working together either.
It's a powder keg to go into this kind of situation, so you got to wonder who would take that job opportunity. But if it's somebody like Byron Leftwich, who hasn't had a head coaching opportunity yet,
it's still, remember, Chris, it's only one of 32. As bad of a job it is, there's only 32 of them in the world, and guys want to work, and they want to be a head coach because they always think they can fix it.
Well, let's look at the odds going into this past weekend as far as the first coach to get the pink slip. And it was Jay Gruden, obviously. He had minus 125 odds. That was a no-brainer. Then it seems to me like it would be Dan Quinn. Going into the weekend again, 5-1, the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, a team you picked to win the NFC South.
Yeah, and he got the vote of confidence from Arthur Blank this week, which is never a good thing. He can't blame anybody now other than himself. He fired both coordinators last year. He's running the defense. It's the defense that's atrocious, so it's squarely on Dan Quinn. The problem is they gave him a contract extension, and he's got a couple more years added on to that deal, so it's going to be a tough financial burden for Arthur Blank to make the decision. But then again, Arthur Blank won't be hesitant because he's got a lot of money, and he's one of the wealthy owners, so I think if he wants to, he will make a decision. I don't think it comes in season. That's just my gut feeling. Where do you go? Do you go to Dirk Cutter? He's been a head coach in the league. He's the offensive coordinator. Where else do you go on that staff? Mike Mularkey, he was a failed head coach as well, so I think it doesn't happen during the season if it does happen.
So you don't think anybody gets the pink slip during the regular season?
I don't think he does, Dan Quinn. I think he makes it through the season.
Who's the next coach to get it?
You know what? Looking at the landscape, I don't think any of them get it during the season. I just don't. Doug Marrone, no, probably not. Even if the things go way off the rails, he doesn't have anybody on that staff that can take over, in my mind. And then the rest of those guys, Adam Gase isn't getting fired. He's in his first year.
Yeah, it's funny to see like a Matt Patricia on that list.
Yeah.
The Lions are off to a really good
start. I thought he would be one of the candidates going in.
But not after the start.
Now. No, absolutely not.
All right, Pete Prisco joining us here at the latest on the Jay Gruden firing in Washington. Okay, this is the matchup this weekend, and unfortunately, we are located in South Florida, so we're all going to be burdened with this game in the early Fox window at 1 Eastern time. The Redskins and the Dolphins, maybe it'll end in a tie, and both teams will still be winless.